Hey, it's a new day. We're back in the shop. Gonna try to get back on this NV4500 5-speed transmission. Came out of this 2002 GMC Sierra 3500. And I've got a few things that I did yesterday that I didn't film. So I'll turn you around here in a minute and kind of bring you up to speed. But I mean, you can kind of see here, I have got stuff strolled everywhere in here. And that's after actually cleaning up a little bit of it last night. So let me turn you around here and I'll show you what we've done up to this point, and then we'll go from there. We'll start over here with this main transmission housing. Cleaned it up yesterday in the parts washer. Took it outside, sprayed it down with a little purple powers, washed it off with the water hose, took a little WD-40 and wiped it all down, air hose, blew it all out, got it cleaned up. Brought it in here, we knocked this plug out right here and this race, and knocked the new race back in there. So that part of the housing is pretty much done and ready to start for reassembly. Got a few other things over here by the press. We've got this counter shaft here. We got this bearing off, got a new bearing pressed back on there. That's one of the old seals that we knocked out of something, or no seal, a race. And so this is the input shaft housing here, and again we got race in it, got a new seal in it, and got that old Burns Mac torch there with the MAP gas. That sure helps heating things up, helps you get those bearings and races out. And so got parts galore that we're going to be putting back together here. Got a few. Here's the 5th gear, some 4th gear synchronizer stuff there. Of course, we got oil and antifreeze. We're gonna new air filter. Gonna do all the service on this and bring this thing back up to what it's supposed to be. Here's a new main shaft, and the reason that we had to get a main shaft, I'll show you on this old one over here. We still got it mounted in our makeshift shaft holder here. So this is the tail of the transmission here. So 5th gears sits actually right in here, and it's outside of that housing that we looked at over there on the back side. It'll be underneath this case here that bolts on the back of that main housing over there. Also got that cleaned up yesterday as well. But some issues that we had when we took it apart was this nut here that's supposed to be torqued on there to like the rating is 250 pound, anywhere between 250 to 325, so minimum 250 pound. And somebody put that on there with a pipe wrench, and the threads in there are garbage. And then this is actually 5th gear here, and you can see in them teeth in there that's wore about halfway through on the teeth. So we got all this new to go back. And on the shaft itself, where 5th gear set, so if you can get focused in on that, you can see the notches in that where the splines have wore into that, and that's supposed to be solid like this, and that's supposed to be a press fit on that gear. And this bearing here, got it pulled off yesterday, and you can see where they've cut that, whoever was in this before has cut that one off with like a death wheel or something, and actually got into that thrust washer just a little bit right there, which I don't think that's really too big of a deal. But down here, this would actually be the front of the transmission. See if I can get you focused in on that there. You can see all the pitting in that, man. That thing is rough. And so this input shaft right here, I always call it a pilot shaft. It's actually input shaft. So this bearing that sits in there is what rides on that rough part right there. And as you can see, it ain't real healthy. But also between this and 4th gear, there's supposed to be a thrush bearing, this little bearing right down in here, and it was completely gone. It wasn't even there when we disassembled that. And I had found some pieces down in the bottom of the case when we was taking it apart. So that's where that was. It was disintegrated. So between the slack that was in it because of that missing thrush bearing and because of that 5th gear being loose, you remember if you go back on that video when we actually opened it up, there was a space there between 5th gear and the back bearing there. And so she was not long for this world. So I'm gonna set you up on a time lapse here and try to go through and clean up the shop, and may go ahead and disassemble what's left on that old main shaft there. And I won't bore you with all the cleanup stuff as far as the parts cleanup, but when I get some of it ready to start reassembly, we'll bring it back in, we'll get that new shaft set up there and start our reassembly. So hang out. All right, I'm going to start the reassembly on this transmission. I'm going to kind of show you the setup here. Just did this little makeshift shaft holder here out of a piece of 2x4 and some C-clamps. Got to tighten down on this old table. Old table's pretty sturdy, needs something pretty heavy. Comes a point we'll have to strap that transmission down to it when we start torquing on stuff. But got a 2-inch hole on this side and 1 5/8 on that side. Depends on which way we got the shaft turned, which shaft we got in there. Got a counter shaft as well. So I already come over here, got this. This is the brand new shaft, and I got this one lock ring sitting on here, and we're going to start with this 1st and 2nd gear synchronizer right here and set it on there, and then we'll build our way up. And I'm going to try to set you up over here and let you watch putting this first synchronizer together, and we won't do the rest of them because they're pretty much all the same. What I did do though is made me a little old wooden plate to set down in there. So I'm going to set this ring in there. We got these little old springs and these little hickeys that go on there. So I'll set you up here in a second. And this one's going to be a booger. It's the worst one. That little old spring sets in there, which it won't even set in there. I got some Vaseline to kind of hold it in place. And then this thing goes in the hole there. Let me clarify here. These little struts sit on the springs horizontally on this 1st, 2nd gear synchro hub and are held in by the synchro ring, where all the 5th, reverse, 3rd, and 4th gear spring struts will be held in place vertically inside the synchro hub without the synchro ring being in place. So stick around, there'll be some outtakes of my struggles at the end of this video. I may show you one of these others when we get to it. They're a little bit different when the spring goes in there. The little thing fits in from the outside. You don't even have to have the ring on there. And the spring holds it against it when you set the ring on it. And so this is the main ring for the synchronizers, and then we got some more pieces going there. I'll show you that when we get to it. I'm gonna set you up here and we'll try to get at least some of this on film. Okay, I may have figured it out here. They got to go in there sideways. So I still got one more to do. If we can figure out the right way to do it, it'll help. One more time. I got 3 out of 4 of them in there. So basically, need to hold that back with this, get the spring in place, start to push it down, and then give her a little taparoo, and I guess she's in there. It just slid up. It should sit halfway. Well, got 3 out of 4 in there, and I'll show it to you there. That one's the one's being a problem. See if I can't get it popped in there. That's what they look like on the other side. So I think that spring got about halfway out. And get that little spring back in there. That's what I'm talking about. All 4 of them clipped in there. All right, let's see if I can get these synchronizer pieces set on there. Just hang on. One. That's one that's got the clutch material on it. And then this sits inside that one. All right, so we got this ring in the second groove from the front of the shaft. That's output there. And so this deal that we just put together with the springs, the hub for the synchronizer, we're gonna put the tapered side down, and this step part goes toward the tail. So that'll sit. Stand up here where I can sit. Come on, there we go. That'll sit right in there, and then we'll take another big snap ring and put her right down on there and hold that in place. Snap ring pliers. See if I can do this without mashing my fingers. One on the top. That's what we was looking for right there. All right, I'm gonna try to do a little dry run here, and what I mean is got these parts clean, don't have any oil on them or anything, and we're gonna need to put a little oil on them when we put the synchronizer together here. But before we do that, because it's just me and turning the camera off and on, all over your hands and stuff, it's just kind of a mess and time consuming. So I'm just gonna try to I'm gonna flip you around here in a second, bring you in here, and we'll go through this piece by piece and see how many pieces there are to this synchronizer and what it takes to get that first gear on there. A little informational, educational, hopefully entertaining too. So let's get around here and we'll get started on that. Okay, let me see if I can walk you through this. So what we did first is we took, and I'll use this old main shaft over here as an example. We took a snap ring, put it in that second groove on that shaft there, set that shaft into this, our makeshift holder here, and then we put our hub assembly together, which is this is the hub here on the inside, and then this outside part is the sleeve. And it has 4 of these, they call them struts, which is this little thing here. This is an old one, we put new ones in there and new springs. So the little spring goes up in that hole, the little strut goes on there long ways this way, and was a booger to get in there. And so then you got that snapped onto that so that the hub is attaching to the shaft here, so it cannot move, and then the sleeve is attaching to the hub with those grooves and stuff in there, and these struts and springs going to allow that to move back and forth for first gear this way, second gear that way. So then the synchronizer assembly that we're going to put on there, the first thing that goes on there is this steel ring, and it has these little things here that's going to fit into those notches there. So when you drop that down on there and turn that and drop it in that groove, then that's locking into the hub there. Okay, next we got this. This is more what I think about when I think about a synchronizer, although there's like 15 pieces to this thing if you count everything. This is the friction material, both friction on the outside and on the inside. And so that is what's going to wear out in most normal occasions. And so that sets in there, and kind of looking ahead a little, it just is going to spin in there. It's not connected to anything. But these little tabs that stick up right here will go into first gear, and that will actually tie that into first gear. So the next thing we've got here is this outer cone that has these teeth in it. And so when you drop it on there, it's gonna lock into the shaft. So it's attached to the shaft, but it ain't attached to, so this ring here is still able to slide. It's got the friction material on it. So then when you take first gear, we got it upside down here. So this is going to set down onto the synchronizer ring with the friction material on it. And then these little old teeth right here is what's going to engage when you hit your shifting fork, which goes in here. And your shifter's going to pull this up on that. And if I had both hands, I could pop it up there. Get a little oil on it, might be able to pop it with one. But anyway, it's going to pop up and line those teeth up with this teeth, and that's going to engage that gear. And I'll try to set this on here. That bad boy's heavy. And see if I can line her up with the, yep. So there she is, all lined up. And of course there's a bearing that we'll have that sits down in the center of this. So when that gear is not engaged, it can sit there and not move, or it can spin on that bearing in there. So, and there's obviously way more stuff that continues going up through here. But we'll stop right there, and we may come back when we have a little more that we can try to make sense out of. All right, I got you set up here. This is our reverse gear here, and our reverse gear synchronizer assembly right here. So we've got our strut and our spring. I'm going to try to pop one of these in here and get it over here where you can see it. So basically I'm just going to take a screwdriver, hold it on that spring, pull it back in there, and slide this little strut down in front of it. And the way these are, they have a little tapered thing here that sits against, so it just pushes out, and the springs will let it work in as your synchronizer rings comes up and down. So let me get up here and see if we can get this one popped down in place. So here we go. There's 3 of them. I did one before I turned it on there and left a couple of them for you to see. I'll try to turn it to the side here. Don't know if that's going to be the best way for you to see it, but try to hold that in right there. See if I can get this one from back here. Come on. Let's not be aggravating. And got my spring lined up. Working good. Working good. All right. So on this ring here, we want this, let's see, we want the tapered side down, and this part here is going to be what's engaging with the synchronizer hub. And so these have little, if I can get you where you can see this, little cleared notches in here that you have to line up with notches on here. So see if I can get that lined up and get them to pop. Cha-ching. Oh man. Well, that's the way you do it, except don't pull it back up because it pops all the springs out. So I'm gonna turn you off here and stick this back on here, and then we'll get her put on the shaft. So I'll get you back here in a second. All right, so I'm gonna bring you back in here on this reverse gear. This is that sleeve and hub assembly with the struts that we just put together with the springs here. And so we got a line of new stuff here to put this on the main shaft. And we'll just do a dry run. So this first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna drop this down on here, which has these splines, which is gonna hook that into the shaft. Okay, next, and we won't put these on because we'll have to actually put it, won't slide down, we'll have to do snap ring pliers. So that will go down to hold that in place. On top of it, we will have this little bushing here, and I have forgot actually right off the top of my head what to call that. I'll type it in here and put it down there, but that goes on top of the snap ring just like that. This bearing will sit on top of that. This will sit on top of that. And that don't look like that's gonna work, does it? And then, I'll tell you what the difference is on that in a minute. And then our new synchronizer ring will fit down on that. And then this assembly, so this is upside down, so it will flip over and come right down and sit on top of that, so that this ring here and synchronizer is what we'll be engaging in with this reverse gear here. Now, I'm gonna flip this over. We also have a new thrust washer there. If you remember when we took that other one off, it had some slots in it where they had cut that bearing off and had gotten into it a little bit, which I don't think that's really a damage that would have made any difference in anything. But so I'll get this much put back together. I don't know, I may try to film this and then just speed it up. Don't want you to have to wait through all of it, but do want you to see what's going on if you want to. All right, so bring you back in here. I did look at, these are Teflon spacers is basically what they call them. And this little one that I set on that bearing does not go on that bearing. And the reason that I thought it did is because the old bearing had one sitting on top of it and it has been ate up. So I went back and looked at the parts list, and this is listed as the Teflon spacer for 3rd gear. So they probably didn't have that one in the right place to start with. So we'll try to get this one right. All right, let me throw that up here where I don't lose it. All right, we're gonna start by, got this synchronizer set down on here. See if we can get this snap ring to pop down in there without a whole lot of trouble. Okay, so I didn't film that, and as you can see, it's gone off of this side and we've set it on the other side. So I got all that assembly that we just looked at put together on there, and took it over there and pressed this bearing on. It's actually sitting in the race. That race will sit in the back of the housing, but I wanted to put it down there so it wasn't just sitting on that bearing on this holder here. So, and we're not going to be beating on it or nothing. So, got that part of it done as far as we can on the back side of the shaft. That's the output there, and this is the input toward the front of the transmission. So, we had this installed that was on the bottom when it was turned over the other way. So all we did was sit in that same synchronizer 3 rings, just like we did on the other side. And I've got oil on them so they're not gonna pop up. And so then next we will be installing this gear on there and the bearing that goes in the gear, and we'll go from there. So battery's about dead. I'm fixing to call it a night, I think. So I think we'll just leave that sitting right there, and we'll pick back up on that this Saturday night. So probably pick back up on it Monday morning. We'll go ahead and close this second video out on this NV4500 rebuild. Trying to keep the videos under 30 minutes. We'll have a 3rd video released in about a week. This build's kind of snowballed from what we thought we needed to get this truck back on the road. Kind of a spoiler alert, snaggletooth. So stick around to see what comes up next. And hang out at the end of this video. We've got a few outtakes that I think you'll like. And let me know in the comments what your ideal video length is. And you know the drill. Like, subscribe, share. Thanks for watching. Ay, ay, ay. We can figure out the right way to do it, it'll help. At some point, somebody who knows what they're doing will watch this video and they'll say, what an idiot. Oh yeah. You know what they say, experience is the best teacher, right? Sometimes you gotta do it wrong 14 times before you figure out how to do it right. This reminds me of that lawnmower that kid sold to the preacher. And a few days later, he walking by and the preacher's out there trying to crank that lawnmower. He called that boy over and he said, "What's the secret to get this lawnmower to start?" He said, "You just gotta cuss it." I said, "You give it a good cuss and he'll use the crank." He said, "Son, I forgot them words years ago." I said, just keep pulling, they'll come back to you." Yep, that's about the way these springs are, dude. You ever just not had the right tool for the job and had to improvise? Yeah, me too. Turn around here, let me show you something here. So that snap ring right there sits down in that little old bitty groove down there, and it's down behind this ridge right here. So the snap ring pliers ain't deep enough to reach down in there to get it. So I can turn it this way and get a hold of it, but then every time I open it, it falls back down and goes in the groove. So I made me some of these little old spacers right here. When I opened it up a little, stuck a screwdriver behind it, would work on them in there, push it around, and then had me a few more here. I just cut that out of plumbing strap there and folded it up with my old duckbill pliers and just slide it around, kept sliding it around till I got the whole thing open, and then just worked it up where I could get under it and pull it up off the shaft. So if you ain't got the right snap ring pliers, sometimes you just gotta improvise.